So check it out. Darwin, unbelievably, has been extremely patient tonight. I want to get him up in here, man. Pause. And then Shan, I know you waiting to pick everybody's argument apart. So I'm gonna let you go last.
All right. So first, I'll say the hair issue has never been an issue for me. For a woman being undateable, I think it's uh, very childish to have a deal breaker for hair, especially given the history, the substantial amount of history that um, has plagued women, especially black women, of upholding the European standards and them having to adapt and it kind of being ingrained in their physical features, as a go to whenever they are trying to beautify themselves. So I would give them grace on that, just like they would probably give black men grace when they took away vocational schools and factories and incorporated the whatever the Lyndon B. Johnson Act, whatever, where they, men were pushed out of the house and stuff. And it kind of made it hard for men to be providers, black men to provide providers. And now you got the results. You got an average man, you got masculine women, you got modern women as a result. So I think that those women are giving these men grace and still dating them and still marrying them, still giving them children and still trying to make it work. So I think that the response to that is to consider, also the historic trauma or the historic uh, obstacles that they had to go through to try to uphold some European beauty standards in America, especially to even work. I know it's changed, but you got to understand that some of these things it's going to take some time to get over. So the hair thing, uh, if you run it parallel with the same issues men had, then you could try to kind of cancel that out. But what I
Man,
would,
but Darwin, I kind of got to challenge you on that one because with that being said, and even with some of the videos that you make, the narratives that you push, and I'm sure that we all, again, as men on here, can agree with that. Yeah, it may be more difficult for us as black men to go out and provide fully, but it's still one of those things where that's still not, it's an excuse, but it's not an excuse, you know what I'm saying? Like we still can't validate men to use that as an excuse to not be the best version of themselves,
and
right?
and I completely 100% agree with you. I don't think it's an excuse. I don't think you should allow men to use it as an excuse. But I'm simply acknowledging that there are a plethora of women who are giving men grace for not being providers. I know I think somebody posted a video on how black men were at the bottom. He had all the stats and men are at the bottom earners. These men, there's some men out there that's still able to find themselves in families, still able to find a wife and become partners. And I think that's the grace that these black women are having for the black man. And I think in return, simply acknowledging the beauty standards also is another thing that kind of hindered black women or people as far as the beauty standards, keeping them from being them natural, accepting their natural self, natural states. If I'm not mistaken, I think in some cases back in the days, having naughty hair or a woman hair wearing dreads or a natural look was frowned upon. It was taboo, and I would think some of these black women wouldn't even be able to get employment if they didn't have a straight hair or a straightener in their hair. So for that, I would give black women grace on that. I think if they're able to wear it and be beautiful and it appeals to you, yeah, that's another layer that, that's the layer of for your perspective, your own specific, the individual preference. It comes to that. But for a mass, for my general consensus on that is to just have grace on them, just grace for the women who have to, you know, beautify themselves in a European way, just like they would have grace for us for not being able to show up economically. You know what I'm saying? So to answer the question on the undateable black woman, I don't think it's a myth. Most definitely don't think it's a myth. I think to specific men who meet a specific criteria and wants a specific outcome might find some black women undateable. I got three examples. The first one, if you're a man who is a partner, you'll struggle finding a black woman who will fully submit to you and fully cooperate with you when she has to pay half of the bills. The second example is if you're a provider, typically around the age of 35, 40 years old, who is looking for a woman who is hypergamous. You'll run into many Black women, according to statistics, that struggle with maintaining their weight, and also Black women who are 35 to 40 who would typically have a child and may be unimpressionable, which makes her undateable. And the last example is you'll run into women who are hypergamous. They're actually justified to be hypergamous. And they look at man traditionally and have a goal to operate in their femininity. You'll find that this plethora of women are undateable because you cannot afford to provide for them and the children you create. Your socioeconomic status might not be at the level where you can provide for this woman. So she would be undateable. Now, I think in a lot of spaces they call these women, they say these women have unrealistic expectations. So I don't think it's a myth. I think once you get yourself to a certain level in a certain category, you'll find that certain women become undateable and some women become dateable.
You just made a
Big
justification
Shan.
for Ebony K. Williams. It just baffles me how you dance around this carousel, sir. You made some good points there, Darwin. But this flip flopping on this bridge about there's a couple points you made, like back in the day, Black women used to embrace their Blackness, their natural hair, dashikis, those times, right on, power. So the dynamic got changed when I can't really put the date per se. I would say 80s, when they felt they needed to emulate European standards and start straightening their hair, and then workplaces demanded it. You ain't gonna come up here with no big old afro and you could press your hair down, get and look more presentable and so on and so forth. And outside of the workplace, it started becoming a pariah just to look Black, and women conform to it. They conform to white standards. So that had nothing to do with the men that were with them. They chose that. Just like the women today, I said what I said and I'll do as I please. That led a trend coming up to where we're at right now. As for the provision and protection thing, you have good points regarding that here and there, but the majority of women that wish to roll up their sleeves with you, I think they far outweigh those that have the high standards. It's just the vicinity and locale that most men are looking. I just wanted to touch on a little piece of that. I digress.